Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Uh, okay, today we'll talk about the government. These are the parts, government in UAE. These are the parts that we will be covering in this chapter. Again, this is only a summary of the chapter that we have discussed inside the class. So you can go through this, and it's easy language, and it's a summary. The first part is the political system, Supreme Council members, federal judiciary, the local government, the federal and local government, foreign policy, and the development aid. Now, Sheikh Zayed was born in 1918. He ruled Abu Dhabi in 1966 until he died in 2004. Now, in 1971, we said that was the formation of UAE, and Sheikh Zayed became the president of UAE. Now, after Sheikh Zayed became the president of UAE in 1971, the first thing he did, actually writing the constitution of the country, and he established the governments, the local government and the federal government. And he established the Federal National Council, the FNC, in 1971. Now, there have been some changes that actually took place in time, and it was announced in 2005 by Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Okay. Now, the first part is the Federal National Council. So what are the major responsibilities of this council? Number one, passing, amending, or rejecting federal draft laws, discussing international treaties and agreements, offering recommendations on general subjects raised during the session. Okay, now the second part, which is related the Federal National Council, was still here. Now, the total members are 40 seats, divided as follows. In Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they have 8 seats each. Sharjah and Ras Al Khaimah, they have 6 seats each. Ajman, Al Qawain, and Fujairah, they have 4 seats each. Now, to be a member of this council, you need to have these conditions. Now, the first one, you have to be permanent resident of the emirate that you represent, which means if you live in Sharjah, you would represent Sharjah. If you live in Dubai, you would represent Dubai, and so on. You should be 25 years of age and above. So below 25, you're not eligible to apply to be a member of this council. You should enjoy the good reputation. You need to have a good reputation, of course, because this council has a good reputation in the country, and you must be literate. These are the major things. So, if I bring you a question and I tell you talk about the FNC or talk about the Federal National Council, you need to tell me about the establishment, first of all, in 1971 by Sheikh Zayed, and then changes took place in 2005 by Sheikh Khalifa, and it was announced. And then you need to talk about the responsibilities. There are three responsibilities. And then you talk about the total number of seats and the division of the seats and the conditions for each member to be part of this council. Okay. This is number one. Now, the second one is the federal government. The federal government, it aims to maintain its independence, safeguard its security and stability. It cooperates with each of the emirates for their common benefits and progress in all fields to provide better life for citizens of the country. It ensures the mutual respect among emirates and no interference in their internal affairs. Now, what does it mean? It means that the federal government actually controls the situation among the other emirates, and it's like the bigger judge. So if there was a problem between one of the an emirate and another, they take it to the federal authority, and the federal authority has the power to judge the situation and solve the problem. The five parts of the federal government authorities. Okay, what are the five parts that actually go in that actually considered part of the federal government authorities? Now, the Federal Supreme Council, the president and the vice president, the cabinet, the prime minister and the ministers, they call them the cabinet, the Federal National Council, the FNC, the one we talked about earlier, and the federal judiciary, which related to the judges. There are three different, like we have the first court, the second court, and the Supreme Court. Okay, now what are the areas of responsibilities with the federal government? What does it do? Now, it's related to these 12 points. Now, the foreign affairs, security and defense related to the army, the nationality and immigration issues, education, of course, the public health, which is related to clinics and hospitals and doctors and all related to this, the currency, the dirham, and the postal, telephone, and other communication services, which is related to ittisalat and related to the internet and the use of the internet and so on. And the air traffic control and licensing the of aircraft. So it's airports, let's say, and this is related to civil airports, because this is security and defense is related to everything related to the army, right? Okay, labor relations and the banking system. And so the central bank and the banks are actually part of the federal government authority. Delimitation and planning territorial water, and extradition of criminals. Okay. So you have to memorize these, and well, you don't have to memorize like the 12 of them, but you know, at least you need to memorize 10. And they're all actually simple and related to the point. Now, the second one is the Supreme Council members. The Supreme Council members and the President Sheikh Khalifa Al Nahyan is the ruler of Abu Dhabi. He's the president. The vice president and the prime minister is Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. And Dr. Sheikh Sultan Al Qasimi is the ruler of Sharjah. He's a member. And the other member is Sheikh Saud Al Qasimi, ruler of Ras Al Khaimah. Sheikh Hamad Al Sharqi, ruler of Fujairah. Sheikh Saud bin Rashid, he's the ruler of Al Qawain. And Sheikh Ahmed bin Rashid Al Naimi, he's the ruler of Ajman. Okay, we're still in the federal judiciary. Now we have three different courts, as I told you before. Now this is the first court, the second court, and then the Federal Supreme Court. Okay, the Federal Supreme Court consists of 5 judges, and this is the highest court. They call it the third court, the Supreme Court. Okay. It consists of 5 judges appointed by the Supreme Council rulers. So the Federal Supreme Court consists of 5 judges actually appointed by the Supreme Council members. Okay. Now the judges decide on 3 things: the constitutionality of the federal laws, inter-emirate disagreements, the disagreements between like 2 emirates, so they actually decide on that too. And the struggles between the federal government and the emirates. Okay, federal and local government. Of course, each state, each emirate has its own local government, but actually they should go, all of them should go by the constitution of the country. So this is the major thing. And we talked about the federal government in the previous